of IFOAM Organics International, representatives of the National Steering Committee of the Ecological Organic Agriculture Initiative present, General Secretary General for Pelham Association, General Coordinator for the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, Chairperson and representatives of the Board of Pelham Uganda, representatives of Pelham partners that have worked with us in organizing this third symposium. I won't mention names, but they are represented through the logos that are here. Thank you so much for being a part of this event. And I would like to also briefly talk about Pelham. We are a network in Eastern and Southern Africa in 12 countries, and we work to improve the livelihoods of smallholder farmers and sustainability of farming communities by fostering ecological land use management. And we've been doing this work for the past 26 years of our existence. And in Uganda, we have a membership of 65 NGOs working around the country, reaching over 3 million smallholder farmers in 122 districts around the country. And I would like to give a brief background about this event. It's an event that has been organized in the spirit of the United Nations FAO-led initiative on scaling up agroecology globally. And the call was launched in 2018 by FAO in Rome. And it's also in the spirit of the African Union-led Ecological Organic Agriculture Initiative that is based on the AU decision to mainstream ecological organic agriculture in agricultural systems in member states. And the event has been organized by the National Agroecology Actors Platform that is hosted by Pelham Uganda. And the platform was launched by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries in May 2019, when we had our first National Agroecology Actors Platform, Symposium, sorry. And since the first symposium, that is over 3 years ago, we have been able to advance in our efforts to scale up agroecology in Uganda. And so far, we have had a coordination of actors in the country. And we have platforms, we have online platforms which are very actively engaged in information sharing about developments in agroecology in Uganda and beyond. We also have a structure over this platform, which is the National Steering Committee, which is a multi-stakeholder steering committee with representatives from government, academia, private sector, certification bodies, farmers organizations, civil society organizations, and more. And this steering committee is chaired by Mr. John Lodungo Cole, the Assistant Commissioner Crop Production at the Ministry of Agriculture, and he'll be joining us. But we have the co-chair, who is Brother Morongo Marias from Uganda Matters University, who is represented here. You can stand up for recognition. And we also have members of the National Steering Committee. You can stand up for recognition if you're around. Yes. So that's the National Steering Committee that is overseeing the National Agroecology Actors Platform that is hosted at Pelham and that has organized this event. And still in the efforts to advance agroecology, we have been implementing the Ecological Organic Agriculture Initiative together with partners including Kulika Uganda, Uganda Matters University, and the Eastern and Southern Africa Small Scale Farmers Forum, doing work around research and applied knowledge, work around information, communication and extension, and value chain and market development. And we have a lot of information sharing that will happen on these initiatives that we are implementing. We are also implementing the knowledge centers for organic agriculture and specifically co-hosting the Knowledge Hub for Eastern Africa. And this initiative is a continental initiative, but we are actively a part of the Knowledge Hub for organic agriculture in Eastern Africa. And we are working towards strengthening capacities in ecological organic agriculture and also knowledge generation, validation, and dissemination. And we have also made progress in involvement of young people. And since January this year, Pelham has been hosting the Youth in Agroecology and Learning Track, Business Learning Track, Africa. And we have also had a number of activities to bring on board the youth, including mentorships and learning caravans. Then we have also had topical dialogues and symposiums on specific issues around youth in agroecology, together with Yalta, but we've also had initiatives around climate action, together with the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. We have also expanded our partnerships in advancing agroecology in Uganda, and since this year we have also brought on board the French Embassy, with whom we have jointly organized this event together with the Stanbic Business Incubator. And they bring in an interesting dimension on strengthening entrepreneurship in agroecology. We have also done a lot of work around developing replicable models of conversion from conventional to agroecological farming. And from the showcase events, you'll get to learn more about some of the projects we have implemented in Namayumba, in Wakiso district, and also in Iganga, with a lot of success in conversion of farmers from conventional to agroecological farming. We have also done work around ensuring that we have an enabling policy environment for agroecology. We have been working closely with the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries to disseminate the National Organic Agriculture Policy, which was passed in 2019 and launched in 2020. So we've done a lot of work around dissemination of this policy. And we have also started on efforts on developing a national agroecology strategy in Uganda together with the Ministry of Agriculture. And since the beginning of this year, the ministry also appointed a focal person in charge of ecological organic agriculture at the ministry, and he's right here with us. He's Mr. George Bob Sunday. You can stand up for recognition. He's our national focal person at the ministry. And so we are making good progress on having an enabling policy framework as a result of the will from the ministry. And all these efforts are, I know Charles, our moderator, also talked about this. We are experiencing a very fast growing population, a lot of pressure on land and natural resources. We are having pressure on the sector, the agriculture sector, to feed the growing population, and we need to increasingly embrace solutions that will guarantee sustainability of natural resources and work for our majority smallholder farmers who dominate the agriculture sector. And agriculture is such an option that offers sustainable solutions to complex challenges of land use, food security, nutrition, agricultural biodiversity conservation, and also has lots of potential for markets. And scaling up agroecology requires a lot of strengthening of the smallholder farmers, knowledge sharing, promoting agroecological markets, policy and legal frameworks that are favorable, and inclusion of youth and women, among others. And as Pelham Uganda, we are very committed to scaling up agroecology in Uganda, and we cannot do this alone. We are working together with other stakeholders, and if you're not part of this movement, we encourage you to join us as we advance agroecology in Uganda. And we are also committed to taking actions forward that keep coming from these symposiums to see that we make progress in the areas where agroecology is still lagging behind. So even this time round, as we mark our third year of the symposiums, we still pledge that support and follow up on actions. And finally, I would like to take us through the objectives of this third symposium. And the general objective of the symposium is to provide a platform for agroecology actors to share experiences and strategies for food systems transformation through scaling up of agroecology in Uganda. And specifically, we want to create awareness on the role of agroecology to transform Uganda's food systems towards inclusivity, resilience, and sustainability. We also want to remobilize agroecology actors to collectively strategize towards advancement of the Scaling Up Agroecology Initiative in Uganda. And finally, we want to create awareness on the United Nations Food Systems Process, its implications and opportunities for advancing agroecology in Uganda. I encourage you to actively participate and make contributions to the presentations and discussions that are going to happen today. And I wish you all a successful symposium. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Stella, the Pelham Uganda Country Coordinator. Ladies and gentlemen, before I invite the next speaker, there is a team that is live streaming the entire discussion that is going on, and we are picking key messages and key questions that are coming from people who are participating online, and at an appropriate time I will be incorporating some of those messages, some of those discussions and questions being asked about the symposium into our overall discussion going on today and tomorrow. Allow me now on your behalf invite the Secretary General of the Pelham Association, Mr. Hannington Owegi. I hope I've mentioned it right, Owegi or Oweji, to come and speak to us. Hannington, you're most welcome. Can we give some energy to the speakers so that we need to feel that we are discussing food, something very important in our lives. Hannington, you're most welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name, as has been mentioned, is Hannington Owegi. I work for Pelham Association. Distinguished guests, representatives from the government, organizing committees, Ministry of Agriculture representatives, and other stakeholders, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to first appreciate and thank Pelham Uganda for organizing such a noble process where we have an opportunity to discuss our food system, from what we produce and what we consume. So Pelham Uganda, thank you very much for this opportunity. I believe Pelham Association has been well introduced, but just to mention a few things about Pelham Association. Pelham Association has been, as has been mentioned, works in 12 African countries in Central, South, and Eastern Africa. And our resolve and our struggle has been how to see that farmers are able to provide food for their growing population, and how they produce this food in a manner which is not interfering or rather reducing the natural resource that we have or depleting the resource that we have, based on the agroecology practice and principles. We strongly believe that through agroecology, farmers are able to produce food, and it has been proved in various studies, research, and even discussions that agroecology is the best way to promote food system that allow farmers to be able to produce food without destroying the existing natural resource that have with them to use. And through agroecology, we can be able to transform even the policy agenda on how food is produced. Because when you control seed, you control food. And many times you'll find that farmers do not have access to quality seed that they can be able to use to be able to produce more that we are demanding given the growing population. We must also recognize and appreciate that several symposiums have been organized around the world discussing food, agroecology, and food system entirely. But I want to believe what you're going to discuss here will help us to move further from discussing the food agenda on the conferences and also taking action that will see us supporting the farmers that are producing food appropriately. So the issue of action beyond the conferences is very key in what we shall be discussing and agreeing upon. We need to look at the strategies of how to ensure that farmers have got access to quality seed. There is good policy environment for agriculture to help them produce more, and better networking, collaboration, and partnerships with research institutions, other stakeholders, to help them to improve and come up with new innovations working in the area of agroecology. And to achieve this, as I said earlier, we need to really find a way of having a common way to move together, some kind of partnership arrangement and agreements. We at Pelham Association recognize the strength of networking and partnership, because entirely if we want to transform the food agenda, we must come together and work in solidarity with all stakeholders involved, the farming communities, the research institutions, the governments, and all the CSOs that are involved in the food system transformative agenda. We must be very, very focused on that. In many states we have found that there's a big gap on youth involvement in agriculture. And this is very, very, very a weak gap in some of the nations that are not involving youth, because our agriculture system depends on the youth to be able to continuously produce. But you find that in terms of our programming, in terms of our policy, there are a lot of gaps in youth engagement in agriculture, and I really must appreciate Pelham Uganda for the YALTA project that they're having with the youth, because it's the only way to ensure that there's continuous productions and enhancing the food system. Finally, I would want to recognize the good role that has been played and in partnership with the stakeholders through Pelham Uganda, because Pelham Uganda has been very strong on agroecology. In terms of the networks, they are the strongest in terms of agroecology and transforming farmers to a better food production and ecological land management practices. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker that we are going to listen to is Brother Mulongo Marias, who is going to talk to us on organic agriculture initiative, and he's representing the chairman of the National Steering Committee. Mr. Mulongo, I saw him coming in. Kindly come and talk to us. You're most welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, as has been introduced to you, I am Mulongo Marius. I prefer to call myself a teacher. I'm a teacher, just a simple teacher at Uganda Matters University. And I'm here the co-chair to the National Steering Committee of Ecological Organic Agriculture. I would like to observe the protocol as has been mentioned especially by the previous speakers. And I would like to ask each one of us for just a minute of silence for the repose of the soul of Professor Julius Mwine, who around this time last year or the other year was in front of us speaking matters of agroecology, but he was called for higher services to the Lord. Just a minute of silence. Thank you. We are the National Steering Committee of Ecological Organic Agriculture Initiative. This is an initiative nested in the African Union, and it is financed by SDC and other organizations that are very friendly and ecological loving organizations. So the National Steering Committee is democratically elected by national platforms, and the National Agroecology Actors platform is an example of such platforms where the members of the National Steering Committee are drawn. We have many roles assigned to us by the initiative, and the key of those is to provide leadership, guidance, and overall supervision of ecological organic agriculture at country level. Is to explore ways of integrating EOA within national plans, strategies, and investment plans. And that's why our members are drawn across this divide. Our chair is a commissioner in the Ministry of Agriculture, that is at policy making level. We have funders, that's why I have representatives from FAO, our representative from FAO. We have farmers, we have certification bodies to make sure that we explore ways of integrating organic practices in the national plans, strategies, and investment. Developing the country's national platforms, long-term goals and strategies, initiating high-level coordination of EOA activities, among others. We have a vision, and this vision is to have a resilient and vibrant EOA strategies for enhanced food and nutrient security. A resilient and vibrant EOA system for enhanced food and nutrient security and sustainable development. Now that we are the National Steering Committee for Uganda, we shall say in Uganda. So the national steering committees in other countries, in West Africa, in East Africa, they will mention their countries. And this vision keys in very well with the theme of the third National Agricultural, with the National Agroecology Actors Symposium 2021, transforming Uganda food systems through agroecology. This theme fits very well in our vision. It is, on behalf of NSC and on my own behalf, my prayer that this symposium and many other symposia in the offing create and support the mission, one, to scale up and scale out ecologically and organically sound strategies and practices through institutional or farmer capacity development, scientific innovations, market participation, public policies. I also want to talk of private policies. We can have policies at the private level. In your family, you could choose to put up a policy that we shall eat organic food, or the food that has gone through an organically certified process. That could be a private policy, and it works. Then outreach and communication, efficient coordination, and kindly open your ears and listen to this, and networking and partnerships. Networking and partnerships. Those of us who are in academia, and Professor Charles is here, I'm glad he's my mentor, he's still my mentor. We say publish and survive, or publish or perish. These things have changed. We need to say network or perish. You don't network, you are not going anywhere. That's why I have put emphasis on it. So networking and partnerships in order to transform Africa's food systems through agroecology. I would like to wish you nice deliberations during this symposium. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Molongo Marius. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to hear from the guest of honor or his representative giving us the official opening speech. And our guest of honor is the FAO of Food and Agriculture Organization Country Representative Dr. Antonio Querido, and he is represented here by Mr. Biakweli Jean-Marie. That's what I was told to pronounce the name as, and he is a policy analyst with the FAO. You're most welcome, Mr. Biakweli.
Thank you very much. Thank you, MC, for presenting me. I'm Jean-Marie Biakweli. I'm a policy officer. I'm here representing Dr. Antonio Querido, who could not make it because of his busy schedule. And he convey you his warm greetings and wishing you fruitful symposium and deliberation today. Thank you. Honorable members of Parliament, Commissioner Crop Productions, Mr. Alexis Wakuba, from the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, representatives from various government ministries, departments, and agencies, representatives from the French Embassy in Uganda, representatives from FAO, the Global Office, the General Coordinator, Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, Dr. Mio Bele, the Country Director, Trocare, Uganda, the Policy Advisor, BioVision Foundation, representative from the Board of IOFARM Organics International, representative from the Continental and the National Steering Committee for the Ecological Organic Agriculture Initiative, Secretary General, Pelham Association, General Coordinator, Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, the Chairperson, Pelham Uganda Country Board and other country board representatives, Country Coordinator, Pelham Uganda, representative of the civil society, member organization, farmers organizations, all protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen. I take this opportunity to thank and appreciate Pelham for the important contribution you have made in the promoting of agroecology in Uganda and for organizing this third symposium on agroecology. This discipline is one of the main safeguards of sustainability of our food system for the prosperity of the people and the planet. As an integrated approach, agroecology demands the simultaneous application of resilient measures from the natural environment and the social interactions to manage food resources and agriculture systems. The relevance of agroecology conservation and application is more important than ever before at a time when the United Nations and many countries across the world are prioritizing food system transformations as a game changer for the accelerated realization of all 17 Sustainable Development Goals. This position is afresh from the recently concluded first ever United Nations Food System Summit that was held on 23rd September 2021 as a part of the 76th session of United Nations General Assembly. The United Nations Food System Summit was organized around 5 action tracks. Action track number 1 is about access to safe and nutritious food for all. Action track number 2 is about sustainable consumption patterns. Action track number 3 is about nature positive productions. Action track number 4 is about reducing inequalities. And action track number 5 is about reducing vulnerability to shocks and stressors. Agroecology contributes effectively to action track number 3 on nature positive production. It emphasizes producing more, using less, and ensuring that production systems are regenerative in nature and sensitive to climate change phenomena. Ladies and gentlemen, as a fundamentally inclusive discipline and approach for sustainable development, agroecology places farmers and producers at the centers of transformation. As the world community, including Uganda, continues to source solutions to safeguard the planet for future generations to come, agroecology certainly provides the critical answers by building resilient and adaptive capacity that empowers producers and communities as a key agent of transformative and sustainable change. Beyond food production, agroecology also addresses the social and economic dimensions of food systems. It places a strong emphasis on the right of women, youth, and indigenous people, employment creation, and aims to sustainably enhance productivity and competitiveness of value chain. In essence, agroecology is structured to address the root causes of problem in an integrated way, and it provides holistic and long-term solutions to agriculture transformation. FAO and its partners continue to promote at least 10 interlinked and interdependent elements of agroecology in the various countries and the community where we work, including in Uganda. That is respect and the promotion of agrobiodiversity, harnessing synergies, improving efficiencies, strengthening resilience, promoting and supporting recycling, promoting co-creation and sharing of knowledge, respecting and promoting human dignity and social values, respecting culture and food traditions, promoting responsible governance and agroecological resources, and finally, promoting circular and solidarity economy as an enabling environment. As you all know, Uganda has a rich agroecological heritage with diverse agroecological zones that have huge untapped potential. As the agriculture economy continues to grow, the increasing burden of ensuring that the country is secure in terms of food security and nutrition rests heavily on the shoulders of the farmers and the producers and the entire agriculture sector. The undesirable levels of food insecurity and malnutrition in parts of Uganda, in particular in a region like Karamoja and some northern part of the country, is also a testimony that more needs to be done in harnessing agroecological resources. The country needs to produce more food using less resources, while the food production and the processing processes need to be sustainably improved to ensure that there is all year-round supply and access to safe and nutritious food. Transformative agroecological action in Uganda and other countries in the region will heavily rely on the national priorities to climate smart and nature positive agriculture innovations that are resilient and sensitive to climate change, gender equality, and good nutrition. Putting it in another way, it shall not be business as usual of just producing more food in bulk, but rather using production means that are smart, inclusive, resilient, and safe, and deliver nutrient-rich food commodities. Improving our agroecology also requires safeguarding indigenous and improved seed that promote nutritious food and healthy diet, and the building of social protection safety nets such as food banks, food reserves, seed and gene banks, as well as drought, pest, and disease-resistant varieties. Ladies and gentlemen, beyond the practices is the sustainable management of agroecological systems. By its very nature, agroecology is multidimensional, and this calls for strengthening multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholder partnership and coordination of the actors in the food system right from the grassroots. Investment in agroecology is important and should be prioritized and tracked, especially in the area of sustainable agronomy, science, technology, and innovation. Increasingly, there is a demand for countries to commit at least 1% of the national budget toward research and innovation to improve food systems. Given the lessons from the COVID-19 pandemic and its disruptions of markets and agri-food system processes in some part of the world, and to less extent in Uganda, strengthening digital services access has provided new frontiers in agroecology based on the ability to utilize data and information technology to improve resilience of production systems and the market. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are moving toward a more sustainable agri-food system transformation agenda in Uganda, we need to adopt an agroecology approach that is built around the following 4 pillars. Pillar number 1 is an agroecology that promotes food systems that foster food security. As you know, food security is and reduce the aspirations that drive wildlife poaching in some part of Uganda. Pillar number 2 is an agroecology that supports ecosystem-based adaptation. As you know, biodiversity and ecosystem services can be part of an overall strategy to help local communities adapt to the adverse effect of climate change. Agroecology practices that use soil replenishing trees can have multiple co-benefits, including soil health enhancement, carbon sequestration, fuel wood, and natural pest resilience. Pillar number 3 is an agroecology that builds carbon offset schemes to support community conservation. Conservation and the climate change mitigation are linked. Carbon markets are a critically important byproduct of a sustained commitment to conservation farming practices if they result in decreased deforestation and increased sustainable land management. And finally, the last pillar is an agroecology that makes sustainability and conservation a profitable business undertaking. A strong business model supported by the development of a unique brand and in combination with the training and the support can synergize economic and conservation effort, achieve revenues, and carve a path toward sustainable financing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are grateful for Pelum for the active promotion of agroecology in Uganda. FAO has noted that you have been working to improve the livelihood of small-scale farmers and the sustainability of rural communities since 1995 through the fostering of ecological land use management. It is also encouraging that Pelum is coordinating a broader network of like-minded organizations and is deeply involved in undertaking research and demonstration projects and advocacy for policies that empower and support small-scale farmers. At FAO, we treasure investment in agroecology, and we pledge our support to continue to focus on interventions and action geared toward the 4 betters: better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life while leaving no one behind in Uganda. I thank you very much, and I wish you fruitful deliberations, and I declare this 3rd National Agroecology Symposium open. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the representative of the FAO. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going into a keynote presentation, and this part is especially televised. But before I do that, allow me recognize Ms. Eve Lumvumu from the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, If you're here, kindly stand up for recognition. Thank you very much. I'll also recognize Miss Oni. This particular name is very long. Raza Fini Lasama. Wow. From the French Embassy. Kindly stand up for recognition as well. Thank you very much for coming and being here. Also allow me recognize my old friend who has been involved a lot in agroecology, running all over Africa and the world teaching agroecology, the program coordinator of the Alliance for Food Sovereignty, AFSA, Bridget Mugambe. You're most welcome and thanks for participating. I know that Million is going to participate on the panel discussion, but allow me also recognize the presence of Million all the way from Addis Ababa, an old friend that I met 2 years ago in Togo and in Addis Ababa when we were teaching journalists about agroecology across Africa. Thanks so much, Million, for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now invite Dr. Emma Sili Prandi, who is online, and she's going to give us the keynote presentation on how agroecology can transform food systems. And Emma is an agricultural officer and specializing in plant protection. And Emma, can you hear me?
Yes, very loud. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you repeat that so that I confirm that you're clear enough?
Okay, I'm talking from home. Can you hear me? Okay, it's okay?
Yes. It's okay, you're clear enough.
Thank you.
So Emma, you have 30 minutes, but if you can do less, I'll be most happy. But you have 30 minutes ideally for your presentation, and we are all ears. Thanks. You're most welcome, Doctor.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be with you with this amazing third meeting of the national meeting on agroecology actors in Uganda. And I had the pleasure to be with you last year, and I'm very impressed with all the things that has changed within the last year, and especially because of the pandemic situation. So I think we should congratulate the national platform for being active and promoting such a great work as Mrs. Stella and the other students presented in the first part of the meeting. I would like to share my screen. Let's see if it works well with my presentation. Can you see my screen? Yes. Please confirm.
Yes, clearly.
Thank you. So there is to discuss a little bit this main idea of transforming food systems through agroecology. I will present, of course, a their own point of view, how we are working in that direction, because I know that in Uganda you are working very hard in this direction. So let's see if our points of view are coincident. I think they are. Well, I
with the people, not over the people, but with the people. This is knowledge intensive. We need collective knowledge from farmers, from science, from governments. We need to work together in these directions. And also, we are aware that are many different approaches and options that are going towards sustainable food systems. We can use agroecology as an umbrella, but we cannot understand this. Not every so-called sustainable approach could be under this umbrella. We have some criteria, and those criteria, I would say we can use like the 10 elements of agroecology that has been defined by FAO, also the 13 principles of agroecology that was established by the HLPE report from the Committee of Food Security and Nutrition, the World Committee of Food Security and Nutrition. So we have some criteria that we can use to define what approaches are really going on the direction that we think it's valid. And we have some common points, such as the diversification of the production systems, livelihoods, and products in space and time. So we are not talking about monoculture at all. We talk about contextualizations of approaches. So we know that the one-fits-all solution is not a solution. We have to tailor the responses, the answers in each context based on the local ecosystem in the food heritage, the local culture. We have to pay attention to human and social values and rights of people. We should not forget about the rights, because we are not talking about other kinds of relationship. We are talking about horizontal power relationship. And this connects with this idea of co-innovation between farmers and researchers. Agroecology cannot be done in a top-down approach, absolutely. We need to change this idea, because if we have this contextualized situation, we need to combine these different kinds of knowledge. And this means territorial, decentralized approaches, cooperation, responsible and equitable governance of natural resources. And we need to look beyond production systems. We have to focus on the entire food systems. As my colleague, FAO representative Querido, said in his speech, we are talking now the new strategic framework of FAO, talk about the 4 betters. Better life, better environment, better nutrition, better production. And agroecology can support all these 4 components. This is important to achieve efficiency, efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable agri-food systems, leaving no one behind. This means we have to pay attention to women's rights, youth's rights, indigenous people's rights. This is a general timeline, and of course I will not present all of this, just to have an idea that in 2018, as it was mentioned before by Mrs. Stella, We had the second symposium on agroecology, where the Scaling Up Agroecology initiative was launched. And I would like to mention that before the second symposium, a lot of work was done, of course. But after the symposium, we had some landmarks, such as the approval of the 10 elements of agroecology by the Council of the Conference of FAO in 2019. We developed TAPE, that is the tool for agroecology performance evaluation, and I will mention this later on. And last year, and especially this year, we had the approval of the CFS recommendations on agroecology and other innovative approaches. That is the committee, the World Committee of Food Security and Nutrition. And this year also, we have the UN Food System Summit, where the Coalition on Agroecology was approved. And I will talk about this right now. So the CFS process is very important because it was the decision, the policy recommendations that was approved in the last CFS assembly was based on the scientific report produced by the what we called among us HLPE, that is the high-level panel of experts. This report showed that agroecology is the most comprehensive approach for the transformation of the agriculture and food systems. And the policy recommendations that was approved in last June have clear indications on how government should implement these policies to transform food systems through agroecology and other innovative approaches that are connected with agroecology, as I told in the beginning of my speech. And then now in September, as it was mentioned also by the other speakers, the UN Food System Summit approved a coalition for food system transformation through agroecology. This coalition was supported initially by 24 countries and more than 30 international organizations, including FAO. So FAO, IFAD, UNDP, World Food Program, and so UNEP. This is a very important coalition. What is a coalition? It's governments, international organizations, civil society organizations, research, academic people, etc., who have this willingness of transforming, put their efforts together to transform the food systems, each one in its own role, of course. But the idea is to implement these agroecological and regenerative approaches as a key lever to transform food systems. By operationalizing the 13 principles of agroecology set out in the HLPE report, and that are based also in the 10 elements of agroecology and the many of us, we know that Stefan Gleisman established these 5 levels of transition to the food systems. So we are combining all of these ideas, and we understand that these principles and elements and levels of transition are important guidelines for governments, for civil society organizations, academic and research people, etc., to put their efforts in the same direction. This coalition, yes, it's very important because they are based in 4 key sub-objectives. That is, implement the CFS policy recommendations, strengthen research and development programs, particularly promoting local innovation in transdisciplinary and participatory approaches. So this is key for having success in this coalition. Of course, promoting consistency amongst sectorial policies, because it's not possible if you have a policy on agriculture going in one direction and policy on health and trade, etc., going on other direction. We have to promote this coherence among policies. And of course, we need investments, public and private investments in agroecology. I know that you are discussing this since, at least since 2019 in the first National Agroecology Actors Symposium, and I had the pleasure of participating last year, and I know that you are going in this direction. I know that you are really committed to this transformation. I would like to talk a little bit about this TAPE, Tool for Agroecology Performance Evaluation, that was developed by FAO and partners. You know that this is a tool that allows to characterize and also to measure how agroecology is progressing, and using some criteria and using some multi-dimensional assessment, and it can be used in several ways. Last year, I had the opportunity to read the report of the TAPE experience in 132 farms in Uganda. That was an experience coordinated by then Church Aid and research people in Uganda, and I can imagine they are here. Diversity, soil health, and agrobiodiversity. So this is data that you can discuss, but you have already this tool to have valid information on how agroecology work in your country and in specific regions, specific farms that you know. But this is important because it's a way to show that how things are evolving in your context. But I can give you more examples from other parts of the world where we are working under the Scaling Up Agroecology initiative. For instance, the Andhra Pradesh community managed natural farming in India, where they are using the farm and field schools approach to achieve hundreds and thousands of farmers, and they are having economic impact, environmental impact, social impact, especially among women. They have amazing results, and they are now trying to scale up in other states in India also. You have a different situation, for instance, in Senegal. This is a more political level. They have discussed in in several regions of the country how to improve the policies on agroecology, and they have established a plan for Senegal and they have, as you did in Uganda, they have organized this national platform that is mixed from government and from civil society organizations. And they are discussing, they have these territorial committees to implement the policies in a territorial level. They have also, they are doing capacity building for women, for youth, etc. So this is a different stage. And I would like to give you also some information about Mexico. Mexico is also a joint work among between government and civil society organization and research and academic sector, but they are centered basically in healthy issues. So agroecology comes from the production section, the production sector, but they are focused more in how food and health and environment are connected. So they started by establishing the frontal warning labeling for ultra-processed food, added sugar beverage, etc. But they also, at the same time, they established some programs for changing the production side. So they are working in both fronts, I would say, but focused in this connection about health, food, and environmental, and of course giving conditions to producers to make this transition, because this is important. So I would start here. End here, stop here, and I thank you very much for this opportunity. My idea is to highlight that you are going in the right direction. You are going in the same direction that international movements are going. There are other countries that are also going on that direction, and this is important. FAO is keen to work with you and to promote this exchange of experiences, opportunities. You know that we have the Agroecology Knowledge Hub that is a space, there is a room for everyone who wants to publish their events or articles or experiences, and we are also promoting a community of practice in agroecology and family farming in Africa, and I really encourage you to participate because this is an opportunity also to exchange experiences and to let people know what's going on in Uganda, because you're going in a very interesting direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Siliprandi, all the way from Rome, the headquarters of the Food and Agricultural Organization. Thank you very much. And I appreciate the the economic use of time, 20 minutes, your presentation, and I had given you 30. Thanks a lot. I hope that you will be with us through the day, especially now as we are going into the panel discussion. A number of the issues that you raised will be discussed as well in this panel discussion as a follow-up, and to ensure that what we are discussing are synchronized and there is that unity of mind going forward. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now invite the following persons. We will have online all the way from Zurich in Switzerland, Mr. Matthias Geck. I hope the technical team has ensured that he's already online. As we get that confirmation, allow me invite Dr. Christopher Cheswa. Cheswa is the chairperson of the Pelham Uganda Country Board. Doctor, you're most welcome, and kindly clap well for him so that he gets energized to take his seat up here on the panel. Allow me also invite Professor Charles Sechewa. Professor Sechewa is a director with the Center for Ecosystems Research and Development, SAD. Professor, you're most welcome. Let's clap for him as well. I will also invite Dr. Million Bella. Bella is the General Coordinator for Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, AFSA. You're most welcome, Million. And the first time I met Million, I thought of money, because his name speaks to a lot of it. You're most welcome. The next panelist we will have is Margaret Masudio. Margaret is a farmer, and she works with ESAF, which is the Eastern and Southern Africa Small Scale Farmers Forum. Margaret, come and take a seat at the panel here. Finally, another panelist that we will have online is all the way from Denmark, and that is Mr. Paul Holbach. Paul Holbach is a board member of IFOM Organics International. Can I confirm that Paul and Matthias are already online? Technical team, confirm for me that before we go live on the discussions. Yes. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, online, and good to have all of you. I'm going to prefer to stand so that I'm most alert. I'm not going to sit. May I request you, panel, to the seats have been well distanced from each other, so you can, yes. Camera people, is Professor okay sitting this side, Doctor here, or he should go the other side? Okay. Then I'm going to request Professor exchange with the lady, so that the lady is in the middle and well protected. Thank you very much. Let me start with Matthias from Zurich. And for starters, I just want to find out, you are a specialist in policy. I want to start with asking you about finding the right enabling policy. When we talk of an enabling policy, What do we mean exactly, especially in our case? What do you think should be that enabling policy?
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me. I don't think that question can be fully answered. It really depends on the case. And there are many ways of creating an enabling policy environment for scaling up agroecology. One can be the example we've just seen in Emma's presentation of giving subsidies to organic fertilizers rather than just to synthetic fertilizers. Another one can be public procurement schemes that value traditionally and sustainably produced food. Another one can be a policy that actually values participation in knowledge generation and decision making. I think the National Agroecology Actors Platform is a wonderful example for that. As agroecology is much more than just ecological farming, it's so important that we create the right environments for all actors that are relevant for food system change to be actively involved in decision-making processes. So I think the key aspect for all processes that go towards enabling policies for agroecology is that all relevant actors are involved in the development of these policies. These need to be farmers, they need to be also private sector actors, they need to be researchers, and it's very important that also marginalized groups, women, youth, and local communities can be involved in these processes in one way or another. So to create such platforms and multi-stakeholder mechanisms, I think is a key process in creating more enabling environments for agroecology.
Is there some country that you would want to share with us in your study of on agroecology policy as an advisor for that? Are there some jurisdictional examples that you want to share with us to learn from and how they are doing it?
Yes, thank you very much. I do think the examples that Emma presented in her presentations are very good. In addition, maybe also from Europe, there's some very nice examples. France has an agroecology policy that values sustainable, ecological produced food. Germany has a bill to support agroecology. The example from Denmark, I think Paul will share a bit of details in this regard, is a wonderful example. But also in East Africa, I think we need to focus not just on the national level. In Kenya, for instance, agriculture is an evolved subject, and the subnational entities, so the counties, are in the key role for developing policies and mechanisms for agriculture. And there, with support from BioVision, 2 counties have developed an agroecology policy. One is Kiambu and the other Meru. And other counties are taking this example and contextualizing it to the environments of their respective counties to ensure that the various aspects included in agroecology get increased support. So this is referring to knowledge generation, including farmers in the generation of knowledge and not just top-down research. This is also developing demonstration farms so farmers can learn. It's on better extension services, it's on public procurement schemes, it's on market support, etc., etc. And I think it really depends on each political entity which way to go. One way is to create sort of like an agroecology policy or agroecology bill that is all-encompassing, including the 10 elements of agroecology as defined by FAO or the 13 principles as defined by the CFS HLPE. Another example or possibility is to include individual components of agroecology in bills that have a specific focus. So in a climate change bill, in the nationally determined contributions, in a biodiversity bill, in a food bill, in a subsidy bill. There's many different ways of doing it, and I don't think, as Emma said, there's no silver bullets. There's no one-size-fits-all solutions. I think it's really important that we think about what are the issues we have at stake in Uganda, for example, and what is the best way to address it. Agricology, being such a systemic concept, has solutions to literally all challenges that we face in agriculture and food systems. But what the most urgent and pressing ones are, local stakeholders and actors need to define. And for that, again, multi-stakeholder mechanisms such as the National Agroecology Actors Platform is really key. I think it's really important to go to the constituencies and ask the right questions. What are the most urgent and pressing issues you face, and what solutions can you imagine? And then science can help in sort of projecting the outcomes of different solutions. What is the difference between a business as usual scenario, a green revolution paradigm, or agroecology or organic agriculture? This can be modeled based on scientific facts, and then this can be discussed again with a multitude of actors to find the best solution, and together with policymakers in an interface with the civil society and researchers, the best policy can then be designed.
Okay, thanks a lot. Whatever you've said leads me to ask Professor Charles Sechewa. You have heard from Matthias, and he talks about the partnerships that need to be engaged, that needs to be applied, the involvement of the different stakeholders, the farmer, the women group, the youth, the government especially. Your experience from working in Uganda and comparing with other countries, do we have this kind of synergies, this kind of, and what kind of an enabling policy framework do we need where we have gaps?
Thank you very much, moderator. Based on my experience, I totally agree with what the previous panelist has said, that the policy process need to be very inclusive. My experience in Uganda, as we researched the policy process, and especially in regard to the national environment policy, which has been tested and even revised. It was enacted in 1995. So it has had quite some time, and so our observations are well founded. The policy is well written, and it shows that it has involvement of all stakeholders. But when it came to actual implementation, we observed that what we call participation of all stakeholders was actually more or less skewed, in that a team of stakeholders would be probably from only one sector, and other sectors would be left out. So that has been quite a challenging gap in as far as implementation of that policy is concerned. In the case of the National Organic Agriculture Policy that was approved in 2019, we endeavored to address that gap by having a multi-sectoral approach, a multi-stakeholder approach, where all different sectors would be represented during the process. I therefore, once again, conclude by saying that when you don't have a consultative process for a policy, implementation becomes quite difficult at the different levels, at the local government level, and even at the grassroots level. So we need really to ensure that as we pursue the National Organic Agriculture Policy, under which agroecology is performed, that we well taken care of. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Professor. A follow-up question. I wanted to also find out how can we transform market systems to work for smallholder agroecological farmers, and in order for them to support the food systems transformation that we are talking about?
Thank you so much. I take it from the FAO rep presentation where a business model has been called for. For quite some time, as we pursued the pathway to ensuring agroecological growth and organic agriculture growth in Uganda and even on the African continent, the emphasis has so far been on export marketing and premiums. I think it's high time that we divert away from that. These sentiments have been also echoed in the recent discussions on the UN Food Systems Summit, that people have actually come up very concerned about issues like the carbon footprint of food and the enabling access to safe and nutritious food by local communities. So if we think about the growth of agroecology in this country, we must embrace a business model where we create local markets for our people such that they can access the nutritious and the safe food. And for them to do that, we must first of all ensure that we have known and traceable sources of this food. We must also ensure that the food is found in locations that are known, and the food itself should be actually labeled in order to avoid all malpractices leading to its adulteration. Now, that is what I think would be the best way forward for our food systems in Uganda as we pursue the agroecology pathway. Currently, the Center for Ecosystems Research, as an example and as a case, has established a physical organic agriculture products market at Abaita Ababidi, and this market is already functional all day. Our observations, and being from the research background, is that we seem to have a declining trend in as far as agroecology stakeholder direct involvement is concerned. And this, the indicative factor is that when you source for such products, they are not readily available. The response is very low. And as such, we feel we need to come down from sensitizing the policy level and engaging at policy level down into the grassroots to actually operationalize the National Organic Agriculture Policy by ensuring that our people are able to produce safe and nutritious food, but also they are able to feed on it and also have extra for generation of income for their better livelihoods.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor. Let me now run straight to broaden this to the African context. Dr. Million, you come from Ethiopia, close up here. And there are some people who have talked about the Pan-African narrative about food systems. Tell us more about this. What is AFSA as an African-focused entity doing to produce or to even market food systems from the African narrative?
Thank you very much. I must say that I found the Ugandan food really amazing and very healthy, because you steam your food and you boil your food. That's a cultural food. Whether everybody does that is another question. And I was also told that when you cook one food, you cook another. You know, one on top of the other. This is an energy conservation strategy, which I really, really, really appreciated. And I had a chance to go to western part of Uganda, about 500 kilometers or something, and I was looking at the landscape, and I visited a farm, and I counted actually more than 14 and 15 kinds of crops, you know, including fruits, in a single farm. So, and also the statistics tells us that Uganda is one of the highest producers of and exporters of organic food in Africa. And all this fact tells me that Uganda can actually transform into agroecology very, very easily. And it can be an example to all of Africa. As you said, the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa is a continental organization. We have close to 40 members, and our members work in 50 of the 55 African countries. So what we did in 2013 when everybody was talking about agroecology is, does agroecology work for Africa? And we did research. We collected data from almost every African country. And the data tells us that yes, agroecology works for Africa because it increases production, it increases income to the family, it improves the soil, it improves resilience because different kinds of crops are planted together, as I said in the Ugandan case. And it also, much more importantly, puts control of the food system in the hands of the farmers. So agroecology works in Africa. Agroecology, as you know, has 3 legs. One leg is research. By the way, in terms of research, I'm going to speak quite shortly in a big conference organized by Agropolis. It's a French government higher a body of research based in Montpellier. And it's a highly significant meeting because what they did was, as part of the CGIAR, there's a big research grouping, as you know, they went back and looked at all the researches that they have done. And they've come up that actually agroecology works. So research is one angle. The second is a number of practices. And the third is a social movement. The social movement side is not talked that much. It's a very, very critical part of agroecology. It has to be the 3 of them, otherwise it is not agroecology. Agroecology is a science and a practice and social movement. AFSA is a social movement. Why is the social movement side of agroecology important? Because, as repeated speakers have said, our seeds are threatened. Our food systems are threatened. There are companies and there are outside governments, there are philanthro-capitalists, you know, who are trying to create, you know, to convince us to adapt some of the seed legislations, you know, seed frameworks, seed laws, so that they control our seeds. This is not right. So we have to fight that. So social movement is important. They tell us that, you know, unless we pump chemicals into our soils, both inorganic fertilizers and pesticides, unless we actually buy hybrid seeds from companies, unless we reorient our agriculture to market-based agriculture, we cannot feed ourselves. I think all Ugandans know that that's not true. Because there is food in Uganda, plenty of food. Why do you go to industrial agriculture? While you can feed yourself and you can increase your export and you can improve the life of people. So that's what the AFSA is doing, taking these kinds of examples and bringing them higher up to the African Union level and interacting with the African Union and promoting the change that is coming, which is agroecological transformation.
Thanks a lot, Million, for that very passionate presentation for the African narrative. But let me make a follow-up on that. The biggest question that is now talked about, there are two things. One is making agriculture business-oriented or business-focused, that people must make money, and that involves mindset change. But two, following very directly to your question of, being careful with chemicals and all that to introduce to our land. In Africa, we have a problem of land fragmentation. Families, you start with 2, then they become 10. Before you know it, they are 10. Multiplication of numbers, and yet the land is the same for that family. So they have to fragment it in order to distribute to the rest of the family members who have come up. How then do you use these variables to ensure that Africa, the youth, the women, the private sector, make agriculture viable as a business to transform food systems?
I think both questions are very relevant and very, very good questions. Quite recently, we did research. The Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa did research. Do we have agroecological entrepreneurs in Africa? Do we have them? What is their challenge? Can they get actually income to compete with other kinds of entrepreneurs? That was the research. In the research, I think this is a big finding. It takes me about an hour to talk about it. The conclusion is that yes, agroecological entrepreneurship works and they can be much more productive, but it has to be connected with awareness from consumers also. That's where agroecology is very much important, because agroecology connects producers and farmers, because we have to talk about the totality of the food system. So if we do a very, very good consumer education, then it's very easy to link agroecological production with business. A best example is a Kenyan case, and the green leafy vegetables. The supermarkets were not holding green leafy vegetables, but suddenly consumers started to demand them. Then supermarkets wanted more green leafy vegetables, and farmers started to plant them. Even the school procurement program in some of the regions started to ask for these green leafy vegetables. So it's very much possible to educate consumers and link producers and consumers and increase the income of farmers. It is possible. And agroecological entrepreneurship does not only mean production, in the value chains, you can involve the youth, you can involve a range of actors to gain more income from agroecology. That's my answer.
Thanks a lot. Sorry. Please go on that point.
Fragmentation.
Yeah.
The land fragmentation question is a very critical question, and that's what is leading also migration from rural areas to urban areas. It's a big issue. But a fragmented land, a small farm, I think is much more situated, or it's better to follow agroecology in fragmented land than monoculture, even in a fragmented land. That's the case. But farmers can combine also their land, and really promote agroecology when land fragmentation is the case. But it's a much more complex social case, land fragmentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Million, for that. That moves me to a person I think is practically involved in the field, boots on the ground, Margaret Masudio. Why is agroecology important for smallholder farmers, Margaret, for persons like you? why do you think agroecology is relevant to you?
Okay, thank you so much, moderator, for giving me this opportunity. I am a small-scale farmer from Ajuman district. Who is the problem in food production? Because as I was growing up, I see the practice we are talking about being implemented in food production. Now, where is the problem? Is it us who are seated here? Is it the seed companies who are telling us to use chemicals? If they are the ones that they here, or we are talking to ourselves? Otherwise, agroecology, that is what we do. That is the best way to go. It involves all the farmers. It involves everybody. Ecosystem friendly. Because when you produce, you use the leaves to mulch your garden. You cut the spear grass to mulch the garden. You pick few leaves to produce pesticide. Are you harming the environment? The environment is very healthy, meaning that we produce healthy food and we contribute to healthy community and healthy population. And that is with agroecology. And more so, issues of the land, the water, the forest, and the entire atmosphere is very safe. Nothing hurts the other. We coexist. I used to hear from our grandparents, when you find a big tree, they'll tell you, don't go there. There are evil spirits there, meaning that they are protecting those trees. There are certain food stuff which you go to the forest and you get and you eat. Very healthy. Nothing like a chemical used in it. Meaning that all the environment, the land, the water are well protected when we practice agroecology. It also, it is gender sensitive because every person participates. Men are there grazing animals. They help us to pick the cow dung, to mulch, to produce organic manure. The boys participate. Even the young girls participate. They sweep the compound. All the rubbish is collected in a corner where it ferments, and we use it we apply in the garden. We used to ply pumpkin where we pour the rubbish, the rubbish pit. My grandmother, normally when it is dry season, she makes sure we remove all the filled up pit. Then around there, that is where we plant pumpkin. And you see the yield, you see the leaves, very healthy, children eat. You even cook without adding anything, you boil. You add a bit of your local tomatoes in it, you add a bit of salt. We cook using the local salt, and this local salt, we get it from the ash. Without even destroying the forest. We get the local salt and we use it for cooking, which is very healthy to our body. And children grow up. We were one time comparing the children of today and the children of our time when we are still young. We used to jump on our one leg. But when we try it now, the children of today cannot, because right from the start, said go and buy yogurt. Go and buy this from the supermarket, and we don't know how they are coming from. It also emphasizes the importance of knowledge, the local knowledge. the local and cultural knowledge in our community. Because actually everyone is a teacher in agroecology, especially the elderly. They teach you how to produce cassava, how to heap potatoes and fix the leaves, how to harvest. All this, everyone is what? Involved. And that's indigenous knowledge does not require going to sit in front of a teacher in a class. We do it practically in the garden. It is the best answer to climate change. For us farmers, the previous speaker was talking about going down to the grassroots. But these policies is from up there. It is developed from up there. Then implementation comes on the farmers. If the wrong policies are developed there, again, the consequences rest on us. Right now, people are facing a lot of climate challenges. Rains come at unusual month, drought comes in the months you don't expect, and we would ask us, why? What has happened? Who is causing this? Is it us, the farmers? Is it the policymakers? Or there are people who are contributing a lot to this, yet on the ground here, we make sure that we protect the environment, we mulch our garden, much as we experience a lot of rain at the wrong time, we ensure that we produce food to feed the population by mulching, by digging trenches along in the garden, harvesting water, rainwater, to irrigate our garden during dry seasons. We feed it a lot down here, but we don't know where the cause is coming from. Who is addressing it? So looking at also agroecology, it has one, as I said, we produce, because we don't use chemicals in it, we produce very healthy food, which is cost effective. You produce your organic manure with no or little cost. You produce your biopesticide with no or little cost.
Okay, Margaret, as a follow-up, how do you think that the youth can, the youth who are participating in agriculture, given in your experience, can maximize potential in organic agriculture?
I would say, let's begin right from education system. Because I remember when we were young, we used to, there are plots given to classes and pupils grow their crops, and at the end of the year, they celebrate. They cook the food, and so let us start there. We engage these young people at the early stage. Let's not look at agriculture or agroecology as a punishment. That is what has been going on. When you come late, they say, go to dig. That is very wrong. It is killing the good attitude to agriculture. So let us begin engaging these young people as early as they are still young. They grow with that good attitude to it, and eventually we all produce healthy food. We don't produce unproductive population. That's why we move to that direction of producing, getting a lot of products in a very small plot. Why? Let us engage our children, our young people as early as when they are still young, so that by the time they are aged, they can also produce their own food. I have for several times seen farmers coming to meetings, they are elderly ones. They said, for me, I've been education officer, now I'm in agriculture. You say, for me, I've been commissioner of this, now I'm in agriculture. Meaning that they take agriculture as the last thing. They have been living their life as unproductive people, and they depend on this ready food, yet we feed it a lot there to produce healthy food, and it is not enough, because the population for us to feed is very high, big, which is unproductive. So let us begin engaging as young, as early as we are still young.
Thanks a lot, Margaret. And let's clap for her. I like especially where you emphasize that farming or agriculture is not supposed to be looked at as a punishment. You have come late, go to dig. And that is a great point in my view. Let me bring in Dr. Christopher Cheswa. What is the role of, in your view, what is the role of the civil society in Uganda in scaling up agroecology and food systems transformation? And how do you think that the civil society can be supported to play that role?
Thank you very much, moderator. Hello, everyone. For a starter, let me say that civil society organizations complement government in delivering services to especially the farmers and all the value chain actors from start to finish. And we appreciate government for that. In my view, one of the roles that civil society has to continue doing is mobilizing stakeholders, especially the smallholder farmers. The previous speakers mentioned that they are usually left out when policies are being developed. And that has come up even amongst the youth. They don't take part adequately in the policy formulation processes, and yet they are expected to benefit from these processes, which they hardly understand. So we'll continue to mobilize, but also organize the stakeholders, just like what Pelham has done and the partners have done today. Bring stakeholders together, let them think for the agroecology practices, agroecology technologies, all that is required for us to exploit our natural resources with responsibility. At the grassroots level, we will continue to organize farmers into structures and institutions to foster governance in the management of natural resources. Unless they get involved and they realize that they are equally as beneficiaries of properly managed natural resources, then they will continue to be swayed by the so many forces that we are all aware of that come with sweeteners. We have this seed that produces so many kilograms per hectare of yield, and yet the following day, the farmers will not be able to access this seed unless they buy it. Also, these institutions that we build at a grassroots level help to foster inclusive business models that other speakers have talked about. I have experience of a youth project. The youth are linked to the buyer. So the buyer provides the market information. Then the CSOs are supporting the farmers to produce what the market actually demands. Because many times there's that mismatch. You ask farmers to produce something, you don't even keep track of what the market wants, where there is effective demand. Because as we all know, the one who is willing to release the coin is the one who really asks for what one wants.
Probably, Doctor, you need to also then, since you referred to the youth involvement, the Yalta ambassador sent through our live stream discussion that on behalf of the youth, I would like to know where the money is in agroecology. Do you want to respond to that as you move to the next point?
That's an interesting question. Thank you. The money is almost everywhere. But what we haven't done is to organize ourselves better as agroecology promoters. Already, FAO and the UN systems are saying for us, if you're organized and you are doing agroecology, it has been proven to work, to support food security, to support nutrition security, and also livelihood improvements. We are willing to continue to support. We are missing that. Government has some money, only that it's a little bit secured sometimes. They will come and say, see, we support both agroecology and then conventional agriculture. And for the case of Uganda, that leaves us completely confused, because much as the country has been zoned, we know agroecological zones. Maybe it is time to also zone it and say, look, there is this lucrative market for organically or agroecologically produced food. Can we say this zone produce agroecology products? Then the other zone do the convention. Whoever wants to get to eat the field, whether they are eating quality food or not, they will go for the other food. Those who want to eat quality will buy what is produced organically. The other area where civil society comes in is in supporting knowledge generation and dissemination. We have been working closely with agricultural research systems, national and otherwise. We would like to continue to do that. We would like to also support the formation of functional and inclusive links between demand and supply. If they are weak the way they are now, especially because of full liberalization of the economy, full everything, and the farmers are not protected in any way, then we are going to let ourselves down. Yet we have this niche and market for what to produce. We would like to continue to provide extension service, extension support to the farmers. Where do we need support? We already have some enabling laws and policies, but I think the weakness is at the point of implementation. Many times we work with local governments, but they say, you see, the money is allocated at the center, it is kept at the center, whatever we get is all preconditioned. So it comes with a lot of conditions, there's no flexibility. So that policy approach needs to be revised. We need further political will from the powers that be. We would need more research in agroecology, such that the information, the knowledge, the skills that we are demonstrating and disseminating to the farmers are up to date. We will need to build a functional relationship between the private sector, the public sector, and all players in the ring. We need sector-based mutual respect. You know, sometimes the private sector wants to exploit farmers. For them, it's profit. Where I'm not getting profit, I move out. So we'd like to build the capacity of farmers to be able to negotiate and contract meaningfully.
Okay.
The public extension system is there, but can it also be oriented? Can they receive tailor-made training on agroecology? Because that is largely missing. Then we want to get ICT, affordable ICT services. The idea of taxing data so expressively does not augur well for the development of agroecology in this country.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Cheswa. Finally, let me bring in Paul all the way from Denmark. Paul, I hope you listen to me, and I hope you have been listening to your colleagues on the panel here. I want to start by asking you to tell us more about the nexus between organic agriculture movement and agroecology movement. What are, in your view, or from your research, what are some of the recent global trends that can integrate agroecology into the development agenda?
The next thought, because I was going back in time. I can also bring greetings from the organic farmers in Denmark, and also a thank you, because one of the methods that is most common now for spreading best practice in organic farming in Denmark was actually learned from Uganda. It's a version of the farm family learning groups, which is spreading best practice in Agricology. So thank you. And greetings also from IFOAM Organics International, where I'm a brand new board member. we unite 800 affiliates in 100 nations to set an agenda globally for agroecology and organic farming, and also to help at the grassroots our organizations across the world to strengthen their work in advocacy and market development and training of farmers. Now, this nexus between the organic movement and the agroecology movement is huge. It's based on our common principles, but also a whole community of practice, improving soils, biodiversity, health, food security. And I think that the commonalities are so great that I truly see it as one movement, as one family, and really one river, just with many tributaries. And in IFOAM, our work and our members are practicing both. It's organic producers and it's practitioners of agroecology. Organics is, of course, also a certified system of rules because we're creating transparency to ensure consumer trust and trade. But I see this as, you know, a success, an economic success, and maybe just one more opportunity for practitioners of agroecology.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
You did ask about the global trends also.
Yes, exactly.
I think we've had a real breakthrough the last few years in the recognition of agroecology and organic farming as a tool and a pathway to addressing a whole range of problems with climate, biodiversity, soil degradation, and not just from the FAO, which we've heard very strong support and have had very strong support from for years, but also the climate panel, the IPCC, Food Security Committee, and in the European Union now there's a goal of 25% organic in all of Europe. This support creates unprecedented opportunities for upscaling agroecology and supporting our farmers and also our organizations that are working for change. In Denmark, organic farming has long been a central pillar of how we've developed our agriculture. We have a strong policy framework for developing market and developing production. And we now have market shares of 30 to 50% now for organic, for a whole range of basic products that are part of people's everyday. It's eggs, it's milk, it's vegetables. You can't even buy or non-organic baby food in Denmark hardly anymore. So it's becoming a norm more than just a small niche. And I think that these kind of practices, best practices, can be spread really around the world. Now, the last most recent success is that a group of NGOs and food companies convinced politicians in Denmark to place agroecology as a central part of its new development strategy for partnerships also on the continent of Africa. And we've initiated a conversation now on what this new prioritizing of agroecology will entail. And we've also initiated contact now with the Danish embassy in Uganda about collaboration. They're also with us today at the symposium. So we have unprecedented opportunities. I think there's a lot of good news out there, especially for countries like Uganda, where there's so many stakeholders that are working together, also with ministry officials, to advance agroecology. So I see huge potential there.
Thanks a lot, Paul, for that revelation. And there you are, especially the youth who have been asking, where is the investment opportunity? Where is the money? Where do we go? And there you are, you have it. Very good debates. Unfortunately, we have to think about the time as well. I wish that we could have more time to continue asking many more follow-up questions, but we will stop at that. Let's clap and thank all the panelists, Paul and Matthias online from Switzerland, from all the way from Denmark. Let's thank the panelists here, Professor Charles, Professor Cheswa, Dr. Million, and Margaret Masudio, I appreciate you for sharing your knowledge with the participants here. We are going to have a short break. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to try to save on time. On the program, we have 30 minutes, but I'm going to cut that to 20 minutes, given the numbers. So I'm going to request that when we go for the break, please kindly hurry up and let's be back here by my watch. We are going to be back here at exactly 10 minutes to midday. It's saying right now 20 minutes to midday. So let's take that break, but an announcement, as you go for the break, kindly interact.